It's a day after Manchester United won, Brighton 3. Ruben Amorim has picked up 11 points in the 11 league games that he's been at United. I put absolutely zero responsibility on Ruben Amorim for the situation Manchester United find ourselves in. 13th, 14th in the league. Don't even know, I don't even check. A long way away from even 10th place, let alone top 5 finish, let alone even a crazier title challenge. Only God knows how many points off top we are. But like I said, I bear no responsibility on Amorim. My emotions have calmed down a bit, the dust has settled a bit, more clarity in my thinking, but I can't help but be really, really worried for my club. Now, again, I've mentioned the on-the-field issues, where we are in the table, losing so many games at Old Trafford. I don't know the stats off head. I think we've lost the last 4 of our last 5 home league games, or home games rather, in all competitions, I believe. But I'm worried for how we fix this. The club is in dire straits. We owe around 200 or 300 million pounds in transfer fees. That's due, I think, next summer or within a year or so. We owe £1 billion. We're £1 billion in debt overall, and we have serious PSR issues. So if it came to a situation where we did have an owner who was willing to put their money where their mouth was, put their hands in their pockets and spend to try and get the players that we need, we would have to deal with financial fair play and PSR, issues and those regulations. So it's not a simple fix of just signing players. I don't see there's no simple solution. But even a combination of solutions, I don't know if, I'm really worried. Don't know how long it will take, what the possibilities of these things are. For example, I continuously complain and go on about the bad culture at the club and how it manifests on the pitch. Amorim mentioned something about players playing in wrong positions. So he alluded to the notion that he's giving instructions. Players are either not tactically smart enough to take it in, or they're not tactically disciplined enough to perform what he wants on the pitch, especially when the going gets tough. We've seen so many times when we face adversity, we just buckle. The biggest example was that Anfield debacle a few seasons ago under Ten Hag when we lost 100-0. As soon as there's adversity, our heads drop. That's it. And we're seeing, I saw some shoots of recovery, something to kind of hold on to, or what I thought was something to hold on to, in the results at Anfield this season, a couple of weeks ago, in the 2-2, where we faced unfair decisions, I believe, and we went to go up. They equalised. In usual recent history, we would buckle, they would go on to win 3 or 4-1 comfortably. They went 2-1 up, but we still fought. We still maintained our tactical discipline. Got the equaliser, should have won it at the end. But for another reason, that's another issue that I'll come on to in terms of lacking the quality in the squad. Against Arsenal, we were 12 against 10 for a lot of that. Referee being the 12th man for them. And then obviously Dalot got sent off. A bad refereeing decision, I believe. At the same time, Dalot was very silly, again, tactical indiscipline, for diving in when he knew what the referee was like. He should have read the game, and then on top of that, he knew he was on a booking. So this is what I'm talking about: lack of intelligence, making the right decisions, reading the game, and so on. But in any case, in that game, we faced a lot of adversity and fought through it. In the end, won on penalties. So I'm hoping, that mental fragility that these guys have shown so often in the past, maybe we're showing signs of overcoming that. Maybe the discipline and the law that Amorim seemed to be laying down, the cultural changes are starting to show. So I said the Southampton game would be a massive test. It would show, and Amorim said this as well, I completely agreed. The Southampton game was the biggest test. It would show whether what we saw in the previous two games at Liverpool and at Arsenal was real. When we're expected to dominate, when we're expected to be on the front foot and take the initiative, and when the expectation is on us, how do we perform? And that game against Southampton was awful. If it wasn't for Amad Diallo's heroics in the last 10 minutes or so, we'd have lost to statistically the worst team in the history of the Premier League. The 32 or 33 years the Premier League has gone on, Southampton are so far the worst team in terms of points gained in the Premier League ever. And they were way better than us. And we were lucky to come away with that. That massively worried me. Southampton were way better than us. Fast forward to Sunday, Brighton. Now, they go up from a simple long pass over the head of Mazraoui, I believe. Simple cross. That cutback it's now creeping back in, that cross and goal. In any case, we did play okay in the first half, and I do think that, again, in that face of adversity, we did show something. So I was thinking, okay, got the equaliser through a penalty. Thinking, okay, hopefully we can build on this. Second half, the guys were awful. I think 10 minutes into the half or so, a good cross from Brighton, but I do think Onana, who I think is a poor goalkeeper, if I'm honest, we seem to have signed him for his ability, his all-round play, really. Maybe not a great shot stopper, but very good in different areas, namely his distribution, his footwork, his ability to start play, and his command of the area. This is what I was told he was good at. Those were areas that our previous goalkeeper, De Gea, was awfully weak at. This guy supposedly was supposed to be good at those areas, or really, really good in those areas, and quite good in the other areas, making an all-round very good goalkeeper. I would take that. In any case, the very reasons that we signed him, I've not seen any evidence of him being any good. He looks poor, his distribution is poor, takes an age to release the ball, which just breaks down any momentum that's being created. He never comes for crosses, i.e. that second goal that we conceded. We should have come for that and claimed that. He never comes for crosses. His footwork is bad, so he's rooted to his line. They score, they take the lead, and then the third goal, what a howler. Don't need to go into that, but he has one of those in him every 5 to 10 games, and you cannot get anywhere with a goalkeeper like that. If your goalkeeper has a howler like that in him every 5 to 10 games, you need to get rid. You need to move on. So whilst it was the right decision to get rid of De Gea, the replacement was bad. And this kind of comes back to my overall point, or the point I was trying to make earlier, in terms of we have such a dearth of quality in our squad. So many players that are just not good enough. From goalkeeper, defence, midfield, attack. So many players that we, as a fan base, we seem to rate them on their highest ceiling and what we think they can do at their very best, rather than the evidence that's being provided, rather than what they actually do produce, and rather what they produce on a consistent basis. We always, I mean, when Sancho was here, we talk about what he could do or what he could become, but he never was that. He's never shown that at Man United. And in reality, he only showed that for half seasons at Dortmund before he signed for us. And then when he signed for us, he never showed a consistent level of very good play. Maguire, awful for most of the time, plays okay. Because okay is better than awful, it is rewritten as, oh, he's doing brilliantly. And, you know, what a resurrection. He's so professional, but he's a poor player. And he shows it so often. Just because he's not putting the ball in the back of his own net doesn't mean he's a good defender. He's poor. We have so many of them. Diogo Dalot. I mean, even last season when he won the Player of the Season, United Player of the Season, rather, he was given credit for that. He was poor. He was poor. He works hard and he tries. I'll give him that. But he's not of the quality of Manchester United, what we should be. And I can say that about maybe every single player. Anthony, we don't even need to talk about. Awful player. So many poor players. So we have a situation now where we have a lot of poor players or poor quality in the squad. That they're so poor that no one was willing to take them off our hands. A lot of them are on big contracts, or everyone's on big contracts, but some of them, their contracts don't expire for another few years. So in order for us to get rid of the bad apples, rather than be able to sell these assets and get money from them, they are serious liabilities that we're having to hold on to. And if we really do want to get rid of them, using Maguire as an example, who I think breeds a culture of lack of ambition, like I said, poor quality, and a failure to take responsibility. I think he breeds that kind of culture. That was our captain, by the way, but anyway, that's another story. He's on around 200 grand a week. I may be off a bit by about 10 grand a week or so, but let's just, for argument's sake, he's on 200 grand a week. He's got another year and a half left on his contract. If we wanted to get rid of him and he refused, if we wanted to terminate his contract, it would cost us around £15 million. His contract is £10 million a year, roughly. A year and a half left, £15 million to get rid of him. Even if he did a mutual termination, what would he ask for? Maybe half of that, £7.5 million, to get rid of him when we already have PSR issues. That's because no one wants to sign these players because of the huge numbers that we've put them on. So that's what we're facing. Times that by about 10. Rashford on about 350k a week. We cannot get rid of him. Nobody can afford his wages. He's not willing to take a pay cut. And what would we get for him anyway? 20, 30 million? Because he's shown time and time again, his consistent level is not high enough, and he doesn't have the mentality to be a top player. Maybe not even a good player. Like I said, times that by 10. Anthony, another one that we're having to give away, pay some of his wages to go on loan. We're paying the wages, some of Jadon Sancho's wages for a year whilst he's at Chelsea, until that signing becomes a permanent in the summer. Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, who will take these guys? So even if we had to be ultra ruthless, you're out, we would have to pay maybe 50 million, maybe even 100 to terminate a bunch of these contracts if we wanted to completely clear deck. We do not have that money. The club, like I said, is in £1 billion of debt. So you spend 70 million, 100 million to get rid of players, and that's without even signing anyone yet. Then X amount to sign players. I'm seriously worried about my football club. We're in 13th or 14th position. We're flirting around those positions all the time. I'm not sure if we've even hit rock bottom.